Hi, I'm Jillian Mealy. Welcome back into another episode. And this one is really unique and special to me because it's based off of the last few weeks of my life. And you guys know I like to be transparent, I like to be honest, I like to be authentic. And if you're hearing a bit of a different voice than you're used to, it's because I'm still fighting off this lingering sickness that I've been dealing with. So, why are we using me and my recent experience of getting very, very sick as the topic for this podcast episode? Because it's something that we can all relate to, that we all go through. And I think it's really important to talk about. So I'm going to first rewind, and I have a fabulous guest today, and I'll bring her in just a minute. But I want to rewind and give you a little of the backstory. So almost 2 years ago is when I left my career in the news, started my own business. And ever since then, and by the way, I was still in school finishing up my MBA. So leaving a career, MBA, starting a business, I had a million things going on at once. And I tried to do them very gracefully. TBD if that is what ended up happening. But so the last 2 years I've been building. I have been nonstop. I've been on this hamster wheel of go, 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 go. I've been working like 27 hours a day. As a new business owner and first-time entrepreneur, maybe you can relate to this. You feel like you can never do enough. You feel like you have to keep going. The second you stop is the second you're going to lose business or miss out or not be ahead of the game. And you put all of this pressure on yourself. I have put so much pressure on myself that I have made myself physically ill. Okay, for lack of a better term there. A self-inflicted sickness, if you will. Now, yes, it's February in the Northeast. Yes, there are viruses going around like crazy, but I think I've stressed my body to the point of having such a weak immune system that I am not able to fight off anything. So I think that's why this hit me so hard. So with that as the backdrop, and as sort of the story leading into all of this, I want to bring in Dr. Patty Ann Tublin, a human behavior and performance expert. Dr. Patty Ann and I actually met a few years ago because I did a segment with her on the news. It was during COVID, and we were talking about dealing with anxiety through COVID. Doctor, thank you so much for being here. So the other day put out this thing on Instagram saying, I'm so sick, blah, blah, blah. I want someone to talk to me about stress. And you sent me a message and I'm like, can we please share this with everybody? Thank you for being here.
Oh, you're so welcome. It was fate. I was just laying and just scrolling, and I saw the message, and you said, DM me if you want to talk about this. You need to be qualified. You need to be a doctor. I'm like, that's me. And I DM'd,
Check,
and
check, check.
5 seconds later, I get a response. Who knew? Because so many people don't check their own Instagrams. They have a team that does that. So we struck up the conversation again, and I'm really, really so happy to be here. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And yeah, for those of you listening, I apologize that my voice, I'm not sure how it sounds to me because my head is so congested. It sounds terrible. So bear with me. I'm going to let the doctor do a lot of the talking here. But when you hear my story, and you were so gracious to call me, we talked on just a few days ago. We spent about a half hour, 45 minutes on the phone. And you gave me a lot of advice that I thought was really crucial for other people to hear. But just when you hear sort of the backstory of what I've been going through and sort of putting all this pressure on myself, working myself so hard, running myself into the ground, because that's how I, as a first time business owner, look at what needs to be done in order to be
Mhm.
successful. Like from the outside perspective, looking in at what I'm doing, what's your reaction to hearing that? Because so many people do the same thing day in and
Right.
day out.
Okay, so I don't know if this is the good news or the bad news for you, Jillian, but it is so common. Like you are not alone. New entrepreneurs. So here's the dirty little secret about entrepreneurship, which I know you know now. Being an entrepreneur means that you can choose to work any 25 hours in the day you want,
Yep.
right? Because we say we want to be an entrepreneur, we want to be in charge of our own destiny. And in so many ways, that's true. And we don't really have a boss. But the fact of the matter is, everybody is our boss, if you will, right? Every client, because we eat what we kill, right? That's part of the beauty and also the downside for being an entrepreneur. So, with that, innately comes the pressure of we really believe that more is more. And sometimes more is actually less.
Mm.
So it's very common, for not just for new entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs in general, to become guilty of what I call which we spoke about, the shiny object syndrome, right?
Yes.
So you start working on one project and you get halfway through, and in the middle of the night, you wake up, or for me, it's in the shower. I do my best thinking in the shower. Lord knows why. You get this great idea, and then the next day you start working on that. So now you have two projects opened. And as
Yep.
you're working on the second project, since there's only so many hours in the day, you sort of kind of fall behind the first project you're working on, even though it's a self-imposed deadline. That continues. The next thing you know, you have a third thing, you have a fourth thing. So what happens is, because we get so excited about what we're doing and we're passionate about it, we want to continue to do more before the first project is finished. You can already see how that creates burnout and a sense of nothing gets finished. So it's very, very common. Does it make sense?
It's so true. Like you are speaking my language so hard right now because and for more of the backstory for those who are listening. So you guys know that I created this online platform called Skill Studio, and it's a catalog of online courses for e-learning. And I have a few courses out there, and there are two more coming out next month. Well, there was only supposed to be one more coming out next month, but I got the shiny object syndrome. And I
Mm-hmm.
had this great idea to create a course about starting a podcast from scratch because so many people ask me about my setup and how I do it. And they want to do it. And podcasting is great because it's an easy way for you to get your message out there, expand your
Mm-hmm.
reach, have conversations like this and inform and educate people. So I was like, oh my gosh, I can do this. So I, in a few weeks' time, decided, let's take that shiny object and let's go, pedal to the
Right.
metal.
Right.
And I did not stop for like 2 weeks straight. And
Mm-hmm.
then don't you know, I end up for a week and a half, like I slept days of my life away. And by the way,
Mm-hmm.
this isn't just entrepreneurs, right? I mean, this is everybody in the
Mm-hmm.
working world. Our
Mm-hmm.
to-do list is so long. Our
Mm-hmm.
to-do list is so long all the time. What is your advice for people to just shut it down? Because we have to.
Okay, so to back up, the first thing is, when you create a project, you have to be very clear on what the end game is before you start, right? So I call that, you reverse engineer. So you started your soft skills course, right? And you want to share your gifts with people so they can go online and use your soft skills. They gain knowledge and you gain more financial security of some kind, right? So once you create that, there's also the concept of follow through, right? It's like any plant. You have to keep watering it or making sure that it has what it needs to survive and thrive. So just because the project is done, that doesn't mean that you're finished with the work. So you need to take it to the end game. The only way you can know what the end game is if you start knowing what you want, how you want to finish, and then you go back to it. So you're working on these projects that you have. You were going to work on one additional project, and people reached out, or you realized, oh, how do you do a podcast? I want to do a podcast. Guess what? You don't have to drop everything you're doing and address that. It's like when somebody texts you, you don't have to text them back right away. Like
Yeah, it's
they
so true.
can they can wait. So one of the keys is to have your North Star, know where you're going. Otherwise, any road will get you there, including burnt out. And then be disciplined. Like, start your day with a schedule. You worked in the news. You had a schedule. And now
Yeah.
I understand, in the news and like most things in life, it is rare, like rare if a day goes according to plan. But at least you have a plan that you're deviating from. And then at the end of the day, you can look at what took your time away, refocus, and start with that the next day. But if you're working on everything that becomes urgent, if everything's urgent, Jillian, nothing is urgent. So you really have to be very disciplined to know what you want to achieve, how you're going to get there, and stay true to the goal.
So what then would you tell, like, okay, so we make our sort of schedule for the day. So this is
Hmm.
something that was working for me when I was actively doing it, but then I got the shiny object syndrome and then
Right.
I sort of went away from the routine that I had established. But
And now
I
hang
have
on.
just,
Why?
yeah,
Tell me why. Why
I
did
don't
you?
know. Because I'm trying to do everything. I'm trying to build, I'm trying to create a successful business like any entrepreneur or like any
Hmm.
business owner out there. I think when you start before you learn the lessons the hard way,
Hmm.
which is what I'm doing right now,
Hmm.
you just throw things against the wall, you just keep going, you just keep running, you keep doing. And I will tell you, getting sick like this and having a essentially a week and a half where I've been forced to do nothing but
Hmm.
sleep or sit on my couch and watch movies and just decompress, I've changed my mind about a lot of things. Like, I've changed my mind about how I'm going to go about working. I've changed my
Hmm.
mind about the trajectory of the next 6 to 12 months of my business life and how I need to incorporate more things in my personal life. Like, I'm okay. Here's the thing, I'm okay learning these lessons the hard way
Hmm.
because they're all things that will help me in the end. And because they're all things that I can then help other people with because it's lived experience, right?
Hmm.
So I'm okay dealing with these challenges and this might, okay, for
I
those of
don't
you
know
who are
why. Yeah.
for those of you who are just listening and not watching, this thing, I haven't figured it out yet. I'm on a Mac and it always gives me a thumbs up
Really?
sometimes. And so it just
Mine
gave me a
does
thumbs
too.
up. Oh, and it just gave me fireworks. Okay, it just gave me fireworks. So
Celebrate.
I
Okay.
don't know what's happening right now. But so anyway, so I'm okay with the challenges, but I like to learn from them. I like
Hmm.
to reflect on them. I like to grow from them. And I think that that is such a crucial step that not a lot of people do in their life, is that reflection and that growth part and celebrating what you've learned from the experiences. What are your
Well,
thoughts on that?
if you don't learn from, I would say, mistakes or what doesn't go well, you will just be a rat on a treadmill.
Yeah.
Like you will never learn anything. The best lessons that we have are from things that didn't go well. This is sort of kind of a sidebar, Jillian, but not really. All growth happens in discomfort.
Yep.
When we are comfortable, we're doing what we know how to do and we're feeling good about it, right? But we're not expanding, we're not growing, we're not reaching into our growth mindset where we expand our horizons. When things don't go well, that must be looked at as an opportunity. What's the lesson to learn from this, right? I know you're an Eagles fan. I'm not. I'm also not. I'm
But
also
you're
not.
wearing green.
I am wearing green. I am sort of kind of my color. But I'm also not. A, I'll just say this. Anytime you've heard anything about Tom Brady, right? Like he won 5, 7 Super Bowls. When you hear him talk, he will talk about how much failure he had, and he learned from it, and that helped him succeed. Any successful entrepreneur, Thomas Edison, Elon Musk, I want to Steve Jobs, like nothing political, the whole spectrum.
Yeah.
They have failed time and time again, and it was tantamount to their success because if you never fail, you're never learning, you're never growing. So congratulations, you are truly an entrepreneur now, right? However, I will say, if you didn't change your mindset from what just happened, then entrepreneurship is not for you because our body does not lie. We can
Mm.
fool our brain and we can say it matters or it doesn't matter, but we hold truth in our body and we can ignore a lot of things, but we can't ignore feeling sick. You had no choice but to stop dead in your tracks. So I would suggest to you, and we talked about this, thank God, thank your body for telling you, Jillian, this is not going to end well. Hit the brakes, reevaluate, and you will come back stronger. It's like an army. When an army is moving forward, at some point they stop and they retreat. They go back. They get rest, they get provisions, they get sleep, they feed themselves, and then they burst through that point where they had stopped to
Yep.
continue forward. And that's what you're doing. So it's great. Not
It's
that it's
so
great that you
true.
were sick, but it's great that you know enough to listen to your body and say, okay, What can I do differently now?
It's so funny. Like years ago, I would have gotten so bent out of shape about things like this, but now, just through being an entrepreneur, like you learn. I'm not kidding you. I look at these challenges and things that I face. I'm like, all right, game on. Let's go.
Yep.
What am I going to learn from this now? I can't wait. I actually can't wait to see what I'm going to walk away from when this particular challenge is done. And I've walked away with a lot,
Yeah, I
which
feel
is
that way
great.
too. And I will tell you, there's a thought in the entrepreneurial world, Jillian, that you will keep things will keep the same thing will keep happening to you, perhaps showing up differently, but the same underlying thing until you learn the lesson you need to learn.
Hmm.
Until you get it, it will keep reappearing in your life.
So then what tips or guidance do you have for people to be able to evaluate and reflect on these lessons? Like, do you suggest scheduling a time each week? Do you suggest journaling? Like, I know everyone's different, but do you have any sort of tips or guidance for people?
Sure, sure. It's a great question. So the very first one is know your why. Know why you are doing what you want to do. Simon Sinek just made it very popular and famous, but
Yep.
people have been talking about their why for the the longest time. That's what I call your North Star. So if you stay true to your why, that's the overriding umbrella for everything else that you do. Okay, so then you have got to have a plan, right? You don't go into work, a non-entrepreneur doesn't go into work thinking, I'll just see what today brings and I'll do what I do, right? And if you do that, then you're going to put out everybody else's fires throughout your career, and you're really not going to take care of what you need to get done. So you have to have a plan. Different people feel differently about things. I tend to like quarterly, looking at
Mm,
things quarterly, like the
okay.
corporate world has quarterly reviews, right? So, what you and I had spoken about though is think about 3 years out. Where do you want to be 3 years from now, right? And then break that to 2 years, break that to 1 year. In the fourth quarter of that first year, what do you need to have accomplished to get closer to your goal? In the third quarter, what do you need to accomplish to get to the fourth? In the third, what did you need to accomplish in the
Yep.
second? And what did you need in the first? And then take your day and plan it out. Now, everybody is different, right? Some people I know, entrepreneurs, especially if there's writing or creation involved, my best time of the day, and know your best time of getting work done, is in the morning. I would imagine you're a morning person too, Jillian, are you?
I used to be.
You
I'm
used to
not
be.
really anymore.
Well, what is the time where you get the most work done in the most efficient amount of time?
In the morning. I mean, I
In the
joke
morning.
and say I'm not really a morning person, like, because I woke up at midnight for 15
For
straight
the morning.
years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that was an overnight person.
Right.
Now I do. I like a few hours in the morning to really kind of run and gun and get my stuff done.
Okay.
A sort of uninterrupted thought process.
Yes. So what I would suggest is, and this is what I do in the morning, I get the hardest work that I need to get done. And there's that expression, eat the frog. Eat the frog, meaning get your hard work done now. And then as the rest of the day goes on, if nothing else, you achieve the hard thing. Here's what happens if you don't do that. It's like when you have food, right? People like to eat what they don't like last when you're a kid. That takes away the joy of the food that you like, because even as you're
Yeah.
eating the food that you love, in your mind, you're like, oh, I still have to eat the peas or whatever,
I love
right?
peas.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. See, everybody's different. You know what I'm saying, though, right?
Yes,
Oh,
yes, yes.
terrible example. What are the chances of that?
I'm like the
But
one person on the planet who loves peas.
well, who knows? It's my thing. I whatever. But what I would say is either the hardest work or what needs to get done. Absolutely. If nothing else gets
Yes.
accomplished that day, do it first thing in the morning, because at the end of the day, even if that's all you do, if the world goes to hell in a handbasket after that, you will go to bed at night feeling like you've accomplished something. You'll
Oh,
wake up in the morning feeling like you're accomplished something. That's my take on it. And then the other thing is to shut your notifications off, right? We're all working on our phone or on our laptop.
yep.
Shut them off. Chances are, Jillian, that We are not neurosurgeons and we are not rocket scientists.
Not
The
yet.
world is not going to survive, is not going to die if we don't get back to someone. And we're not saving anybody's life. I'm not saying our work is not important. I'm not saying we shouldn't feel passionate about it. But we don't need to be interrupted
Yep.
all the time. And if you think you need to answer somebody right away, you really have to look at yourself and see what's going on, because then you'll never get anything accomplished.
It's okay. I need to write down, hold on, because I want to comment on a few things because you just spoke my language multiple times. So when you were talking about and giving that example about the peas, when you're talking about, your schedule for the day and get your either most important or most tedious or the thing
Right.
you're not looking forward to, get it done first.
Correct.
I love that because I do the opposite. So
We all do. We all do.
I started saying this a few minutes ago and then I got distracted because my head is so full and congested. But so I on my phone, on my notes app, I just the night before when I go to bed, oh my gosh, I can't think. My brain is so fried. When I go to bed, I create my list for the next day, the things that I have to do or the things that I didn't get done today or whatever the case may be. A few things, respond to this person email, write out this proposal, just that sort of daily stuff. I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is check it. And I save the thing that I'm not looking forward to the most so many times until like the last thing I do in my day. But I go back and I look at that note and I'm like, oh, like I still have to do that versus just doing it. Just get it done. It's so much easier.
And a lot of people innately will do that. I understand that, but so it's counterintuitive, but you're a morning person. Why would you not take advantage of when you're at your best?
I don't know. It is so dumb of me. Right. I know.
No, it's just being a new entrepreneur. No, it's not that. We all make the same mistakes. It just shows up maybe differently. We all know. I hate to use absolutes, but I would be shocked if there was ever an entrepreneur that was successful right out of the gate. And if they were, I'm going to attribute that to luck.
Okay, so the thing I had to write down that I didn't want to forget to say is boundaries. So we talk about you don't have to answer that email or that text message or answer that phone call right away. That's one of the many things that I've learned from the last week and a half of my life of being forced to slow down is I need to keep better boundaries because as you very well know, as an entrepreneur or as anybody in the professional working world, nowadays, you can't help it but have work come home with you because we all have phones. We have our emails accessible, like at our fingertips. We're always accessible. And as an entrepreneur, I have been very accommodating to people's schedules. Like, oh yeah, I'll do this at 6:30 at night. Or, oh yeah, no, I need to stop. No, like hard no. How important is it for people in general, like working professionals, to be setting those boundaries and keeping to them?
It is critical. It is critical because otherwise you're letting people be the master of your time. And as far as I'm concerned, time is the most important commodity because we are doing this podcast now. You and I and the people listening will never get this time back, ever. Yeah. Once we spend it, it's gone. And we all have a finite amount of time on this planet and nobody knows when it runs out. You can make money, you can lose money, you can make it again. Time is critical. Do not allow the time vampires to suck the time out of your life. Let me give you some strategies on how to do that. And it goes with the question that you just asked earlier in terms of boundaries. Have the notifications set off because you want to get into what's called a flow, right? And we all know the science of flow. That's how high performers perform better than other people. You get into that flow and you lose a sense of time. And there's a reason for that. If you are constantly being distracted, it is impossible to get into the flow because you need a certain amount of time. So there's that aspect of it. The other aspect is if you are trying to multitask, and this is a challenge for me, I'll be honest, Jillian, you're reading something, you're reading a text, like nobody's doing one thing at a time. The research shows that you're not doing anything well, right? And with my first book, the Money, Not Tonight, Dear, I Got a Business to Run, I help people create a business plan and a family plan So they complement each other. But
Mhm.
if you allow people to constantly pull you and distract you, or you pull and distract yourself by multitasking, it's also going to be difficult to get things done. Another tool that people can use, which I think you will really appreciate, is set block amount of time for when you check your emails.
Mm.
So before I start my day, like my real work day, I will check my emails X amount of time. Then I will not check them again till after 4 o'clock. And guess what?
Oh.
The people that know me know that. They will say, oh, I sent Dr. Patty an email at 11, but I already know she's not going to look at it again till 4. So you are now training the people that work with you and for you and know you that you don't always respond to emails right away. You don't have to keep sending me the email. I will eventually get it. And with new clients and with companies, you absolutely let them know. I want to let you know when I'm working with a client, when I'm focused on a coaching call, I give them my undivided attention.
Yep.
Therefore, I might not be able to get back to you, but I know you appreciate that because I would you expect me to do the same for you, and I will. So you make it relevant for them, so why they're getting the best of you. And really, I do believe in that. That's very much a truth, right? When we're having a conversation, people deserve your undivided attention, whether it's business or not.
Yep.
It's all
I
about
love that.
relationships anyway.
I love that idea. Like even right now, we're doing the podcast. I have my phone on do not disturb. You know,
Right,
it's I don't want to be interrupted when I have my clients. Do not disturb. Nobody
right.
can reach me. The only thing distracting me is my dog because he's always in my office.
Mhm.
But
Right,
people love that. You know, people are like, "Oh,
right.
let me see your dog." You know, so it's fine. But I love that idea of because you emailed me at 5:30 this morning or something, and I was like, "Girlfriend, I
That's
am still
me.
asleep."
Yeah, first thing in the what was your stuff turned off? Please tell me yes.
Oh, off. Yes, yes.
Okay,
No,
yeah.
turned off. But when I woke up and saw, I was like, oh my gosh, she's an early riser. So, but
Well, I
anyway, I
wanted to
love,
make sure that was, I'm glad you brought that up because some people I know I can do it too, some people I can't. But
right.
since we had this during the day and I knew once I started client work I wouldn't be able to check
Yep.
again,
Yep. No,
I
I
wanted
love
to make sure that I was on time for you. But
it.
yeah, 5:30 is a little early for
No, no, I love it. It's okay. I was just made me laugh. But I love that idea of saving your responses to emails then until after 4 p.m. to get those few hours during the day of focus time on the projects that you're working on the clients that you're having to deal with. Like, I think that is such a great tip. Ho- I think though, for people in the business world, like say you've got managers, you've got bosses, you've got
hmm
leaders, you know, does that work in that scenario?
Okay, yes, it does, because I do work with entrepreneurs and corporate. Here's how this works. If
Okay.
somebody pulls you, you're working on actually, everyone's working on more than one project in the corporate world today,
Mhm.
right? You're working on a project and you get an email or a text saying, hey, I'd really like you to help me with blah, blah, blah. And your other boss or somebody else that you work with, everybody doesn't know what everybody else is working on, right? So what you would need to say to the person that is asking you to stop what you're doing now to work on their project, to say, I'm happy to do so. I'm working on a project that Joan gave me. Um, would you like to reach out to Joan and let her know that this is more urgent, or can this wait? So make sure everybody knows what's going on, because you do not want to be the fall guy, right? I would
Yep.
prefer the person giving you the new work speaks to the person that gave you the work. Otherwise, don't kill the messenger kind of thing. And then let them work it out. Otherwise, you'll be working, way too many days, and it can get abusive sometimes. The work culture absolutely can
Yeah.
get
Oh,
abusive.
yeah.
So
Or
people, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, or you're emailing back and forth or on phone calls, and then you're not getting the actual work done.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. And normally there is people are reasonable. They say, oh, I didn't realize that. Let me speak to her and I'll get back to you. And then you mosey on along, keep doing what you do. And then if you don't hear back from the person, I would suggest, if I was coaching you, reach out to them and say, hey, did you talk to Joan, or what? And they either might have forgotten, they got distracted, but this way you're on top of your game and you're
Yep.
seen as the quintessential professional. Don't assume
Yep.
it just goes away because somebody doesn't reach back out to you with the follow up.
No, great advice. I love it. You are a successful business owner. You know, you you're an author. You have paved this way for yourself in the business
Hmm.
world. How did you do that? Just talk about how, I mean, I know that's like a very broad question, but
Right.
for people who are listening right now, because a
Hmm.
lot of my audience, they know I'm a new entrepreneur, they know my journey, I've been very open about it. And I share the ups and the downs. And like I said at the very beginning of this, I try to be transparent and authentic and honest. It's not an easy road,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
the entrepreneurial road, it's definitely not an
Right.
easy road.
And it's not for
So
everyone.
it's not for everyone, but how did you do it? Like, what were things
Okay.
along the way that you were like, you know what, this is important information that people would.
Okay. So total transparency. There's a couple of ways to answer this question in a short time. I am absolutely relentless when I want to get something, like to the point where
Me too.
I'm a pain in the butt. Like if I want to, like my husband could tell you, if I want to do something or get something done, he's like, you said it 10 times in the last hour. I got it. Windmill, right? Kind of thing. So everything, there's an upside and a downside. So a relentless pursuit of excellence, relentless, which you need to be a successful entrepreneur. I am also undaunted by mistakes and failure. And if you tell me I can't do it, oh, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Watch me.
Right. Which is probably, a little bit of a character flaw, I'll be honest. But like if you tell me I can't do something, all hell will break out. Like
Mhm.
I bring it on. Bring me your A game. Bring it on. There's that. But what preceded that, Jillian, really was um, I watched my mom. My mom was widowed at 36 with 5 kids, had to go to work. She actually worked in the news industry on the
Okay.
international desk, worked like a dog as a secretary to
Yep.
get paid peanuts.
Yep.
And back in the day, I'm sure she wasn't treated well. Single woman, 5 kids, needed her job, gorgeous. There was probably a lot going on that we didn't know about. And I looked at that and I watched that. She never complained. She never said life wasn't fair. She just carried on. But I watched that and I'm like, there's got to be a better way. And that's where I felt like I think I want to do this for myself. And then as I had my children, by the time I had twins, identical twins. Then I had my third son 2 years later, shoot me now. And then I had my daughter, and so I had 4 children in 6 years, which was
Mhm.
great, but I don't recommend it. It was really hard. But what I realized was no matter how great my boss was going to be, any boss, nobody was going to let me raise my family the way I wanted to and work.
Yep.
Like when you have kids, right? I might get in trouble, but they have all these dumb little plays that take 10 minutes that as a parent I wanted to go to. So Monday I'm going to one play, Tuesday I'm going to another one. My boss says yes, my boss says yes. By Wednesday he'd be thinking, didn't you just go Monday, Tuesday? By Thursday, he's saying no. I'm like, yeah, that's not going to work for me. So the whole concept of freedom was really important to me to be able to live my life and raise my family the way I wanted to. Now, does that mean I did everything perfectly? Absolutely not. My freedom, yes, of not having a boss. Having said that, Jillian, truth be told, Miss Boundary over here, a client asked me this once, and the answer was so obvious. He said, "Is there ever a day, Patty Ann, where you're not working, where you're not thinking about working?" And I'm like, nope.
No.
I go on vacation. I love to travel. I'm on the plane. I am loving life. I feel like I'm the only one on the way back that cannot wait to get back to work because I love it. And I feel like I add value and it allows me to be passionate about what I do. And so it works for me. And it's also very important that you surround yourself with people that will support you, not the naysayers. I wrote my 2 books at night and on the weekends. My husband picked up the slack. Everybody's husband wouldn't do that. Everybody's partner wouldn't do that, right? And it's very, very important that you surround yourself with people that support you, that will encourage you. They won't do it for you, but they will allow you to create an environment with them where it gets done. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes. No,
Okay.
I think that's brilliant. Surrounding yourself with the right people, not giving mind to the naysayers or the people who are being judgmental or have things to say on social media
People
and have
love to,
never even met
Jillian,
you.
people love to live your life for you,
They do.
and
Yeah.
they love to tell you what you can't do. They
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. I'm like, we've never met. Cool.
Right.
Thanks.
Yeah, right. Like I care about what you say because why? Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But the other thing you talk about, in addition to those things, or not that you talk about, but that I'm going to ask you about, is how important it is to delegate. Because we did talk
Mm.
about this on the phone the other day. And I have been, look, I made good money when I was working in news.
Hmm.
I am not making good money yet as an
Hmm.
entrepreneur. I'm making
Yeah.
money, but
The
I'm
word
not
is yet.
close. I'm not close to where I was.
Use
Okay.
the
Like
word
this is,
yet.
yes,
Yet's the
yes. I'm
mindset.
not yet. But
Okay.
I mean, this has been a hard financial time to
Hmm.
start a
Hmm.
business from the ground up.
Hmm.
And anybody who's been an entrepreneur, you know exactly how I'm feeling
Hmm.
right now. And
Hmm.
that's led to the whole keep going, keep going, keep going, keep working, keep building
Hmm.
hamster wheel that I've been on. But you said something, and a few people have said this to me recently. They're like, you've reached a point almost 2 years in where you can't do this on your own
Hmm.
anymore. How important is it that we do that, not just as entrepreneurs, but everybody, to be able to delegate, to
It's
ask for the
it's
help?
critical. It's critical, and I think it's why a lot of people are burnt out and exhausted. Um, so it's interesting when I do corporate leadership training. I have an actual one of the sections I teach is how to delegate effectively because nobody knows how to delegate. It's unbelievable, but it's important. So there's the concept of unique ability. You and every entrepreneur listening should know what their top three unique abilities are that you and only you can do. And then everything else, in theory, should be delegated. So you shouldn't be sending out emails. You shouldn't be checking emails. You shouldn't be editing your podcast unless that's your lane, that only you can do it. So only you can be on this podcast interviewing me. You can't delegate that.
Yep.
But all the behind scenes stuff probably can be delegated. Now, there's a cost factor, right? So you delegate as much as you can afford to. But the prescription for burnout is being all things to all people and trying to do it all yourself. So, as entrepreneurs, there's a concept that Dan Sullivan, who's the leader of Strategic Coach, arguably the number one entrepreneurial coach in the world, and he talks about unique ability. Know what your unique ability is, and everything else can potentially be delegated. Everything.
That's one of the things that I think people have a hard time with, though, is can I
Yeah, we're
afford to
control
do that?
freaks.
Well,
And we're
not
control
only that,
freaks.
but I think more than that, it's the finances. It's
Sure.
I mean, as an entrepreneur, it's like, oh my gosh, what is next month going
Hmm.
to be like for me? What is six
Hmm.
months going to be like for me? What is next year going to be like for me? You constantly have this battle in your head of, well, if I pay someone to do this, that's money that I could potentially need, right? So, like, we're fighting this battle of wanting to do everything versus not being able to do everything. And
Right. Well,
that's
you
the
have
point that
to,
I'm at today.
true. Well, you have to look at this from an abundance mindset, not a scarcity mindset. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say money doesn't matter. Money absolutely makes the world go round. I mean, I saw my mother struggle her whole life. The only people that I heard say money doesn't matter are the people that have it and have a
Right.
lot of it, right?
Yeah.
But you do need to have the mindset and the belief in that it will come, and have a barrier, like have a budget. I will allocate X amount of dollars for this. As an entrepreneur, and I'm very much like this, you want to be lean and mean. Like you want to keep your overhead low so that your ROI is high. Like you don't need to build a huge team, but you need to build an effective and an efficient team. But you cannot do everything. It's just impossible. So maybe I hesitate to say this, maybe there's ways to barter. Bartering to me, somebody usually gets the short end of the stick, but perhaps that's a way to do it. But you have to realize that you have to spend money to make
To
money,
make money.
right? And also that many people will say, like, don't have a plan B. My feeling is, if there's a way, and I did not do this, but if there's a way to keep some type of revenue generation coming in as you're starting your business, that might alleviate a little bit of that fear, because fear is a future oriented emotion. You're afraid of what will happen going forward, and that can handicap you in the present.
Mm-hmm. Fear is oof, it's a
Mm-hmm.
beast. It's a beast, man.
Yep. It's a stranglehold, right? What is it?
Yeah.
And but fear stands for false evidence appearing real.
Yep.
Like if you want to be afraid, Lord knows there's enough things out there to latch on to. That's why you have to have the abundance mindset.
Okay. So, by the way, thanks for bearing with me. I've been drinking tea this whole time. I'm trying to keep my voice strong. But is there anything else that you think is important for people to know, whether they be business owners, entrepreneurs, or just working professionals? Is there anything we didn't touch on?
I think it's really important to live your life, right? And not to be naive, but what you said earlier, there will always be people that want to live your life for you. Think about at the end of the life what you will regret.
Yeah.
And look at those regrets. You have time now and live into it. Look, some people, for example, if you're raising a family and you always wanted to, be an entrepreneur, you want to make blankets, right? But you can't take that financial hit. Keep your job and find your joy doing that, making blankets as a passion, as a hobby, right? And it's okay if entrepreneurship isn't for you. It's not for everybody, but don't live to work to live, and however that looks for you, whatever that looks like. Like Jillian, I loved when I did TV, like not like you, but as a guest or did little segments. I absolutely loved it. I really, really did. I went through more lip gloss in a day, like the dirty little secret, right? During
Yep.
every commercial, there, there you go.
Lip gloss, powder.
There you go. I loved it. And I really did think about, gee, I would love to do this for a living. But I was at a stage in my life where there was so much free work I would have had to have done
Yep.
to get the job that paid. I wasn't willing to take that hit.
Yep.
So I stopped doing it. I don't know, could I regret it? And part of me feels like I would still love to do it. Now I joke, I say I'm aged out, but I still have other
No.
ways to do it, right? You can do podcasts, you can do other stuff. So you can't do everything, but you should be able to do the most important thing that you want in your life.
And I don't know how you feel about this. This is kind of my mindset. You can have everything you want, just not all at the same
At the
time.
same time, I agree. Well, that's the other thing. Okay, so let's talk about that for a moment. The whole women can't have a career and have a family. I vehemently disagree with that. I've done it. It's just a matter of what you want that to look like for you,
Yep.
right? There's nothing special about me. People that say that and do that don't allow somebody else's limiting beliefs to become your own. You don't have to own that. Just because you can't do it doesn't mean I can't do it. I mean, that's a little obnoxious, but you know what I mean,
No, it's true for anybody.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can people find you?
Oh, thank you. So I have my own podcast, Dr. Patty, and I'm on Instagram. Everything is with Dr. Patty, and that's my brand. I have a newsletter. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, all drpattyann.com. And
Thank
I'm
you.
so excited because we are passionate about the skill sets, the soft
Yep.
skills, the emotional intelligence. So I love the collaboration. So thank you so much for the opportunity to come on.
And thank you for reaching out to me because, like, you put these things out on social media, on LinkedIn, and you're like, all right, let's see what type of responses we're going to get. You never
Right, right,
know.
right.
And
What
it's just been
psychopath
such,
is going to answer?
who's going to ask for feet pics,
Right.
the usual. But so I was so excited to get your message and reconnect because it's been a number of years. But this is just the start of a great
Beautiful
relationship.
relationship. There
And
you
we'll
go.
come back on and we'll keep talking about this because, look, stress isn't going away for anybody. And
Right.
that's one thing I can promise you. And so I think these conversations are important to have. And I think we all walk away taking something from it that we can enact in our daily lives. So Dr. Patty Ann Tublin, thank you, thank you, thank you
That
from the
you
bottom
are
of my heart.
welcome. You are welcome. The last thing I want to say is I
Yes.
cannot wait to come on and speak with you after you've just been on the cover of Fortune.
Oh, okay. That's going to be a while. But thank you.
There you
Thank you
go.
for the confidence.
There you go. You're
Thank you
welcome.
guys for joining me for another episode. I'll see you back here next time with a stronger voice.